Hi everybody, this is Kathy from Scrappy Counselor Designs, and I'm here to show you today a technique that I learned and I've been playing around with, but it's using foil in your dies and in your embossing folders and what you can do with them. And a couple of the products that I have used have been, first I played around with this. It's a pipe tape that you can get at Home Depot or Ace Hardware, any place like that. And basically what I do is I get a tag and I measure out what I need. Well, first, before I show you how I did it, I'm going to show you a couple of projects that I did with it. And I used different, this I used is Perfect Pearls. I embossed it, and well, first of all, I went ahead and put the tape on the tag, and I embossed it, and then I went ahead and cut it out from, this is a Tim Holtz die, the caged bird. And after I was done with that, I used the Tim Holtz Distressed embossing pad, and so I got it all inked up with the embossing pad, and then I used Perfect Pearls on it with a paintbrush, and it just, to me, I just think it just is beautiful. Now I have a couple other ones that I've done. I also used Perfect Pearls or Pearl X on this one, but instead of using a paintbrush, what I used was I just dumped it on like I would distress powder, and then I just would tap it off, and then I heat set it, and it kind of gives it a grainier look, whereas this one here, I didn't attach its wing yet, but it has a very smooth, just a really pearly, I don't know if you can see that in the camera, but it's a real pearly, soft look. And then I used a couple of other products just playing with the bird cage. And this, I used a metallic paint, and this is made, it's called Deco Art Dazzling Metallic, and because of the foil being a little slicker, it didn't adhere real thickly, but it gave it a really nice pretty look, like a really pretty gold bird cage. And then the third product that I used on this bird cage was I used some Adirondacks color wash, and then I just kind of blotted it, and then that's basically what it came out to look like. Really nice. But this is the Perfect Pearls that I used on the first bird cage with the paintbrush. Just made it really nice. And then what I also did after I embossed this is a huge tag, and you can see some of the lines because I actually used 3 strips of tape, but I embossed it with the gears, and then I used alcohol ink on it, and then I let that dry really well, and then I spritzed it with espresso color wash. And I didn't really like the look of the color wash on it, so I blotted it dry, and that's kind of why it's got the speckled looks to it. But I will use this on on a layout or as a tag, and where some of like the embossing folder you can see the line, because the embossing folder obviously isn't as long as the plate is. So I will be covering that up probably with a die like the old jalopy. That's kind of what I have in my mind right now. And after putting all the embellishments in this tag, you're not going to be able to see the lines, so none of those, the folder lines or the tape line, doesn't bother me at all. And so I kept playing with different products, and the one that I came up with that I absolutely really like is, surprisingly enough, Reynolds Wrap. Very nice foiled look. You get it it's bigger, so you don't have to have the taped lines. Like, this is one of the tags I did and I haven't done anything with, and you can kind of see the lines of the tape, but you know, you don't really notice it when you first look at the tag. It just looks like a tag of gears. And so I don't really think the tape lines really is a big deal, but if you really want a really fresh non-lined surface, Reynolds Wrap is the way to go. And this is how I did. This is just made out of aluminum foil and cardstock. Now what I did to adhere this was to the cardstock was I used this spray mount. Absolutely. Or you could even paint on, there's a product out there by Arlene. It's called Tacky Glue, I believe. So once it's dry, you can take it on and off if you want. That's really cool stuff. But this is a repositional adhesive. But once it's stuck on, it's pretty much stuck on. So, but I really like the cleanness of the product or the project that you get. And but I was going to show you how I use the tape. And sorry, as I make my funny little sounds today. Sorry, I have to apologize for that. But I'm just going to cut off several lengths of this tape, and as long as you're burnishing, kind of playing with the product, and see, this has a sticky back to it. That's why we use it on our plumbing, because it will stay. But what I do then is I get it as close to the side of the tag as possible, and I just burnish it down. And you can get it really smooth just by burnishing it with your finger. And so then you take the other one, and you can do it one of two ways. You can butt it up really close to that same line, or you can just overlap it just a little bit. And burnish it as well. Now here I didn't get it quite as straight as overlapping as I wanted to. So, and it's going to stick to, I should have brought my mat back up here because because I want it to overlap all the way down. And so I just play with it. I like it better when I can do it all in one, because you can kind of see the where it's not as smooth as this side, but that's really not going to matter, because once you put it through your Cuttlebug, your big note to self, or to you, don't use paper. Use your mat, or like I'm going to put back my cutting mat, and it's well used, well loved as I call it, very stained, but I turn it over and I use an X-Acto knife just to make it smooth, make it so it looks like a tag. Yeah, I don't want to put my finger on that blade. We want to show no accidents here on YouTube. Anyway, I've really had a fun time playing with the tinfoil today as well. And what you also could do, you could just burnish over your paper if you like. You know, like most of my tags are kind of on a project, so you could just do that. But then what do is I go ahead and I'm going to get a plate, and it really doesn't matter which plate you get. So I'm going to place my tag into my folder, and I'm going to go ahead and run it through my Vagabond. I absolutely love this machine. And if you don't have one, save your money and get one. It is well worth every penny you pay for this little baby. Anyway, this is what it looks like once you're all done. And you can cut out the top of the tag, so or punch a hole in it. And this is where you can use several different products. And I used the distressed embossing ink, and basically all I did was ink it up really good. Some of these tags you'll probably see. One of my projects for my friend I'm making a mini book for. But so it's been kind of fun just to kind of been playing with so I take the Perfect Pearls and I just dump my brush in there, and I just brush it lightly onto the tag. Okay. And by doing this versus just dumping it on, actually gives it a really smooth, sparkly kind of look to it, glimmer to it. Really very pretty, very soft look to the tag itself. And so basically I'm just going to do that to the entire tag. Once I'm all done, I will tap it off, and my tag will be ready to embellish if that's what I choose to do with it. Don't know if I got it up there, but I'm going to make sure it's up there. And then once I'm all done, I actually have a piece of paper pretty close by, and I just tap off the extra. Either way, by tapping it, and then I can just save it. And then what I do with it is I put the excess back into the container, if I haven't already spilled it, which that's not totally uncalled for. I seem to do that pretty regularly. I'm not what you call the cleanest scrapper around, but I enjoy what I do, and I think that's what it's all about, is to have fun and play. And basically, I just go ahead and heat set it. One thing to remember though, when you're doing your tags with the foil, is that the foil gets hot. So don't pick up the tag with your bare fingers unless you've got gloves on, or if you've got leather hands. And basically, that's what it looks like when it's all done. Really fast, fun to work on. And then this one I actually used the foil on. So now I'm going to go ahead and use alcohol inks on this one. And like I said, I'm kind of coordinating this with my project for my friend. So I'll be using colors that will, and you can do this a couple of different ways. You can just drop it on and let it do the coloring, or you can use your blending tool. And my cat just knocked mine off on the other side of the table, so love my little cat, but he is really loads of fun when it comes to scrapbooking, because I'll bring out my paper and I'll go ahead and I'll tap down, and basically that's what it's going to look like. And you could add several different colors. The alcohol ink tool I think works a little better because you're not using quite as much ink. Or you don't get it quite as much on you. Or in my case, it's more on me. And so I'm just tapping that. And then I'll just go ahead and I'll let that dry. But anyway, that's what it kind of looks like when I get all done with just using one color of alcohol ink. I'm going to continue to play with doing different products on this, because I would like to figure out a way to kind of have a distressed look on this particular, and this is actually called the foiled, and it's actually a vintage cabinet card. So anyway, I think this will look really nice in her mini book. But anyway, the other projects that I worked on, I have not colored yet. I cut out after embossing them. And this is with the foil. I really kind of like the foil because you don't get those lines in the project. But, you know, kind of like when you can't really, like even on this one, you really can't see that line. So even by using the tape, it's, you know, that's really not a really big deal. But if you really don't want to have that line showing, then the foil, and I put the foil onto, I spray it onto a cardstock or a really light chipboard. And anyway, it's really fun. Just, you know, I'd suggest just take out a couple of projects, or, you know, some foil, get some tape, play with your supplies. It's kind of fun just to sit down and just see what you can do with these products besides what they're first intended or created for. But I just suggest just kind of having fun. If you make a few mistakes, it's no big deal, because, you know, in the scrapping world, there is no such thing as mistakes. It's just a different way to look at creativity. So anyway, I'd like to encourage you to get out supplies and have a good time. Anyway, I'd like to thank you for tuning in to watching my foil tags, and I'd like to encourage you to have fun and have a great day. Thanks. Bye.